Hello and welcome to Surprise Radio. I'm your host Surprise, and if this is your first time here, this is your number one source for independent, underground, unsigned, and underrated music and artists. Also today we will be doing more than just music, like I've been doing here in the last month or so. So we're going to discover some new music, we're going to review the new Superman movie, we're going to review the Ironheart TV show, and we're going to close things out with a little bit of football talk. There will be timestamps in the description below. You'll be able to see it on the progress bar. You can skip ahead, skip behind, stop the video, whatever you want to do. But just enjoy the show because that's what we're here for. So the first thing I want to do is get into the music. That's probably why you're here. I have a handful of songs we're going to sample. But before we sample those, 6 songs that I wanted to check out, we're going to check out the new video by Forever May Fall. This song has been 2 years in the making. I've been really looking forward to it. I got a little sneak peek of it when I drove all the way to Charlotte to see them live playing with Killicoy 2 years ago. The poster right behind my head here. This is from that show. And yeah, I'm really excited to check out this video with you. I have heard the song, but you may not have heard the song, so it's perfectly fine if you are hearing it for the first time here, if you're checking out the video for the first time with me, or if you've already seen the video, like the song, and just want to check it out with me. Whatever the case may be, you're more than welcome to join me for this. Forever May Fall is a band that is based in Western North Carolina. They're basically from Charlotte, even though I think that at least half of them live outside of the city. But I really love this band. I love these guys. They're honestly very kind, very giving, very loyal, and just incredible to their fans. They really do care, and I'm really excited to check out this song with you. I hope that you enjoy, and if you haven't heard Forever May Fall before, which is kind of unlikely if you're a fan of my show, but if you haven't heard Forever May Fall before, because it has been a couple of years since I've featured them, as I said, this is the first song they've released in a couple of years, then you're in for a treat, because Forever May Fall is, like I said, a very incredible band, a very sweet, kind, giving, and talented band. So without further ado, this is Villain by Forever May Fall. Villain.
I'm not throwing shadows on my name, but it's not enough. You wanna see me coming undone. You wanna see me turn into a villain. Your secrets, now I could spit them out. If you wanna see a savage, I could bring it out. Take a lighter to your dreams and just burn it down. But I don't wanna sell you out. Am I the bad guy now? Because I wanted to be. Everybody's gotta deal with sunshine and opinions that they gotta share, cause they wanna find a bad guy now. We'll take a long look
That was Villain by Forever May Fall. I really enjoyed that. I really liked the flow of it. It wasn't in your face. It was just a really good song. I feel like that was a song that could be honestly in a movie and fit very, very well. So I'm really excited about that. I love that it came out the weekend of Superman. So that's also exciting for me. And it does seem like Forever May Fall always ends up doing something for my birthday, doesn't it? It's not really on purpose, but it does end up happening that it usually ends up something happening for my birthday. So that's very exciting. I hope that you enjoyed that as much as I did. Going forward, we're just going to be sampling some music. We're not going to listen to the whole song. None of these songs are super long. A couple of them are 4 minutes. A couple of them are 3 minutes or less. So we're just going to be checking out a sample of these songs. But a lot of music came out this week. I made a post about it. It's really exciting just how much music has been coming out this summer. Last couple of weeks was a little bit slower, but this week had a ton of really good music, a ton of music come out by really good bands. I don't know about the music. I haven't heard it yet. I'm listening to it with you for the very first time. So next up is Living Dead Girl. I have featured them before. I've featured every one of these bands before, actually. This is their song, Poison Me. So yeah, that was a sample of Poison Me by Living Dead Girl. Usually when I do a sample, I do the first verse and the chorus. I know that there's probably a breakdown later on, and we'll check that out on our own, but I do like to at least play the first verse and the chorus when I sample these things. That was Poison Me by Living Dead Girl. Like I said, that was a really good song by a Florida-based band, and I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that a lot. I can't wait to listen to the rest of it. Another band that I featured fairly recently. I believe the first time I featured them was last year, and I thought that the song was okay, but honestly, for the past few months, year, I think that they've been releasing some of their best music ever. The Pretty Wild is from Las Vegas, Nevada. I was not able to actually figure that out when I featured them last year, but I saw a post. I think that, I know that they did a song with Echo. They did a cover of Heavy is the Crown, and that's where I was actually able to figure out that they're from the Las Vegas area. So, yeah, this is The Pretty Wild with their new song, Living Dead.
Shifting to the face that
Yeah, that was another incredible song by the Pretty Wild, Living Dead. I can't say enough good things. Like I said a little while ago, it feels like they've been putting out their best music over the past year, so it just keeps getting better and better. That's very exciting. So up next, we're going to check out the new Not Enough Space. I actually don't remember when I featured them, but I am excited to finally check out some more music by them. This is their song, New Age Cannibal.
For the queen, I'm the new age cannibal.
Okay, that was a snippet from the new song by Not Enough Space, New Age Cannibal. That was, I really do like when bands do the sort of talking or almost scatting that they just did in that song. I love that. The harsh vocals were what they were, but I like that there was a lot of different vocal styles just in the minute that we listened to it, so that was cool. Up next, we're going to be checking out the new Pinkshift song. This Pinkshift was actually one of the very first bands that I ever featured when I first started my show. I featured one of their songs when they were also a fairly new band. They are from the Baltimore area. This is their new song, Vacant. That was Vacant by Pinkshift. So Pinkshift is one of those bands that is a bit hit or miss for me. They have released some incredible songs, and they have released some songs that I wasn't the biggest fan of. That doesn't mean the song isn't good. That just means that me personally, it wasn't my favorite song. But I know that a lot of their fans have liked a lot of their songs, obviously. But basically what I'm trying to say is when they hit, they really, really hit, and that song hit. So that was exciting. Up next is a band called Colorblind. I have featured them before. Like I said earlier, I featured all these bands before. This is their new song, Let Down. They have a new EP out. This is the single off of that EP, but it's definitely worth checking out the entire EP. Or I say it is. I'm going to. Whether you do or not is up to you, but let's check out a sample of their new song, Let Down.
Don't waste my time when I need you, you're silent. So I'm leaving tonight. I can't look you in the face, nothing left to say. You're crying even though you never felt the same.
That is what music is supposed to sound like to me. I loved that. That was Let Down by Colorblind, or at least a sample of it. Like I said, you should definitely check out more of their music. Up next, we're going to be checking out Ignescent. This is a band that is from the middle north area of the country. I believe they're from... Wow, I totally blanked on where they're from. I apologize for that. But this is a Christian rock band. I have really enjoyed some of their songs, and I'm really excited to check out their new song, He Came, He Saw, He Conquered.
He came alone into the battle. He knew nobody else could face his foe. He left his throne, he left his glory. He knew nobody else could ever go. He called the bluff, he took the challenge. He came into this world to seek and save. No one could know, no one could fathom. The way to win was only through the grave. They laid him in his tomb. They thought they sealed his doom. But he rose. He rose. He came, he saw, he conquered death and hell. He came, he saw, he is alive and well. He was, he is, and only he forgives. He died, he rose, he lives. He came, he saw, he conquered.
Now that is a riff. That was awesome. That was Ignescent with He Came, He Saw, He Conquered. I really enjoyed that riff. As for the music portion of this video, we're going to close it out with a video feature sandwich. Basically, we started this video with a music video. We're going to end the music portion with a music video of another song that I did listen to. I listened to Keys to the City by Silly Goose, but I did not watch the video, so I'll be checking that out with you for the first time. And yeah, let me know what you think in the comments down below, with the music portion of the video.
Let's go.
Yo, I'm just a kid from the suburbs. I could've had it all, but my parents were appalled when I dropped out of college to play music in the street. I'm from OTP, but still running the scene. And now I'm selling out shows at the Masquerade. Time to celebrate, bitch, I'm getting paid. Still not a lot, so the merch you gotta cop. Keep an eye out for the fresh new drop. Shout out for giving me a name. I made it out the suburbs, still not good. So just move! I need the keys to the city in a big red car while I ride real pretty. Just move! I need some violence in this place. Watch the barricade and say it to my face. So just move! I need the keys to the city. dreams are coming true, it's nothing new, I'm still poor. But they don't know, they just see me on tour. Like here's a letter to send to address the local scene. It's the pretentious kids that never believed in me. Now they pretend to be my friend when they see me at shows. And anyways, I wrote this letter and here is how it goes. Hey guys, hope you're doing alright, not trying to fight. Wish you could have been on my team, my life's a dream. I know your life sucks, cause it's my name they scream. When it's me on stage and my turn to play, the crowd is standing still until they hear me say, just move! I need the keys to the city in a big red car while I ride real pretty. Just move! I need some violence in this place. Rush the barricade and say it to my face. Just move! I need the keys to the city in a big red car while I ride real pretty. Just move! We're gonna bring the pain. This whole town's gonna feel the rain. Man! Fake it till I make it. Yeah! And I love that you hate it.
That was Silly Goose with Keys to the City. By the way, you may have recognized Atlanta, Georgia there. That is where they're from. That was another really good song by Silly Goose. They're kind of making a name for themselves with putting out just banger after banger, aren't they? And speaking of putting out banger after banger, that was the music portion of the show. I hope that you enjoyed it. Coming up next will be my reviews for Superman and Ironheart. So I have seen Superman twice now. I went and saw it as the early Prime preview on Tuesday, and I went and saw it yesterday. Superman was probably the best Superman movie I've ever seen, while simultaneously having the second worst Superman of all time. Dean Cain was definitely worse. My biggest hesitation for this movie was the reboot factor. I understand the reboot, I really do, but then Peacemaker was in it. So it's not really a reboot. It's more of a James is keeping his stuff and getting rid of the things he doesn't want to keep. I still feel this way about it. I don't really trust WB to stay out of the way. Warner Brothers has proven that they get impatient or they freak out if something doesn't perform the way that they want it to, and they get involved. And I don't trust that to change. I know that right now they're saying that this is James Gunn's baby and he's in charge, but I just don't trust them to stay out of the way. I just don't. Not to mention, there's a Batman roaming around that apparently isn't part of this universe. There's a Joker roaming around that isn't part of either universe. And then there's the post-credit scene from Peacemaker Season 1 that had Ezra Miller and Jason Momoa in it, but now they're not part of it, or at least Ezra Miller isn't part of it, and Jason Momoa isn't Aquaman anymore. Now he's Lobo, which is who he should have been in the first place, by the way. You see, this is what I'm talking about. It makes it so hard to invest in the movie, the universe, and any of the character. I know that my review is a little bit all over the place. I have positives and negatives, but I'm just going to kind of go through them, not really in any particular order, just these are my thoughts, and I just kind of wrote them down. This was the best movie, Lois Lane, yet I do wish that they had used Tyler Hoechlin and Bitsy Tulloch from Superman and Lois, as I think that was the pinnacle of both Superman and Lois casting. The James Gunn humor did exactly what I expected in this movie. It didn't outright ruin it, but it was distracting and a bit of a letdown. The James Gunn humor was really prominent with the Guy Gardner scenes. But there were a couple of James Gunn action scenes too, but I did like those. To me, Mr. Terrific was the highlight of the movie. There was too much profanity for a Superman movie. Once or twice, sure, but the word shit was used entirely too much. Again, it's a Superman movie. It's a movie that kids are supposed to be able to go to, and they just used it too much. They used profanity too much. Now, having said that, I just said that Mr. Terrific was the highlight of the movie, and one of my favorite scenes was literally him saying, "I'm goddamn Mr. Terrific." So, but that's me. I'm an adult man. It doesn't bother me. And maybe if that and maybe like one or two other had been in there, it would have been fine. But it's just, like I said, it was just a little too much. Hot Girl was a little bit undercooked to me, but it wasn't her movie, and I'm actually hopeful. I do know that the next project is either going to be Supergirl or it's going to be the Lanterns TV show. I'm not sure which comes next. I haven't been paying a whole lot of attention to DC because, as I said before, I'm not really trusting Warner Brothers to stay out of the way, so I don't want to get too invested and then just have to start over again. Hopefully I'm wrong. I would love to be wrong. But until I can trust that I am, I'm kind of keeping my distance and just viewing things as they come out, enjoying them as they come out, and going from there. I don't really have any other way to be about all this. But having said that, the one thing that I'm hoping for, because Hawk Girl was in the Justice Gang with Guy Gardner, Green Lantern, I'm really hopeful that she'll be in the Lanterns TV show. Actually, now that I think about it, I think Peacemaker might be next. Peacemaker Season 2. But anyway, I'm really hopeful that maybe she'll be in the Lanterns TV show and that they'll actually explore her relationship with Jon Stewart in that. That could be a lot of fun, I think, especially if Carter Hall ends up coming back and it becomes a triangle type situation. Not every triangle is the best, but the Hawk Girl and Jon Stewart and Carter Hall triangle is one of the more interesting ones, especially in comic book history. One of my very favorite things was the homage to the original John Williams score, especially the first few seconds of the movie, or the intro, or whatever you want to call it. I loved that so much. It brought chills. It brought tears to my eyes. That is one of the biggest complaints of the Zack Snyder universe. Was it's not so much that they changed the score, because I understand changing the score, even though the Superman theme song was so iconic, but I can understand needing to change it. The fact that they changed it to a very forgettable score for Superman was a problem. But I love that they fixed that here, where they used some of the John Williams while also making a new score for it. I think that was dead on. It was great. Also, loved Crypto. Crypto was awesome. If I had to guess, I know that part of the love for the Rocket Raccoon storyline in the Guardians of the Galaxy, especially part 3, was in part based on James Gunn's dog that he lost, and it's just sort of therapeutic for him, and I like that a lot. I absolutely felt like Crypto was literally James Gunn's therapy for losing his puppers, and I can completely understand that. Crypto was incredible. Jimmy Olsen was hot? What? I don't quite understand that. He was a ladies' man, or all the women wanted him anyway. I guess. I guess. It is what it is. A couple of things I didn't like necessarily. The thing I disliked the most was the storyline of Jor-El and Laura being bad guys, or being the message, that the part of the message that was destroyed and ended up coming out later. The Superman should basically subjugate humankind, and I did not like that. I didn't like it at all. I understand that it might be based in comics, but it was shit. It shouldn't have been used. I hated it. Hated it. David Cornsweet was just not good as Superman. When he used his deep voice, he was too loud, but he didn't always use it. It was like, for example, when Christopher Reeve was Clark, he used one voice. When he was Superman, he used one voice, but he didn't drop into a lower register and it be louder than everyone around him. I don't know how to explain what I'm trying to say, but I didn't like that. I didn't really enjoy Cornsweet's Superman super much. I did, however, really like at the end his scene with Lex, when Lex was calling him an alien and he kind of went off on him. That was probably the best that he was in the movie. And he had his moments. I'm not saying he was terrible. By any means, I'm not saying he was terrible. I don't know. The obviously a lot of us really enjoyed Henry Cavill as Superman. I'm not going to compare per se, but basically what I'm trying to say is when you've got Christopher Reeves, when you've got Henry Cavill, when you got Tyler Hoechlin, when you've got Tom Welling, and even Brandon Routh, I really enjoyed all of them as Superman. And so Corn Sweat has a very, very steep hill to climb. He still has time to win me over. I don't know this movie. I didn't think... I thought that he was probably the weakest actor in the movie outside of Ma and Pa Kent. On the complete opposite side of that, Nicholas Hoult absolutely surprised me. I really enjoyed his take on Lex. I thought that he was incredible. Now, him going to Michael Rosenbaum and getting advice from him was important, I think. I think that that's why it was so good. But yeah, Nicholas Hoult really surprised me. I thought that he was incredible. Metamorpho was actually really visually stunning, and I enjoyed the actor. I actually really liked Anthony Carradine as Victor Zsasz in Gotham. I thought that he was actually probably, him and Alfred were the two best characters in the show Gotham. So I was a little iffy about whether or not I wanted him to be a different character instead of Zsasz, because I thought he was so good as Zsasz, but man, he really killed it as Metamorpho. The cage scene was a little silly, I guess, but otherwise, I thought he was awesome. Guy Gardner sucked, but I think he was supposed to. I loved the Hall of Justice, but I really didn't like the humor from Nathan Fillion. And it's not Nathan Fillion. I think what it was Nathan Fillion made it obvious that it was the James Gunn humor. That was the part that I was scared of, and that's when it happened. His delivery was good. I just felt like it was out of place in a Superman movie, especially the scene in the Hall of Justice that I mentioned a moment ago. Now, I realize this review is a little all over the place, but my feelings about it were all over the place. As I said, I think this was the best Superman movie ever made, and I don't say that lightly. I loved the Christopher Reeve Superman, but in all honesty, the first movie was dated, and the resolution at the end was terrible. Superman 2 was absolutely the best up to this point, but it was flawed too. A product of the time more than anything. Personally, I loved Superman Returns, but even I'll admit that it was lacking. Aside from the plane scene and the finale, it had a terrible balance of story and action. Same for Man of Steel. The death of Jonathan Kent was dumb. Kevin Costner is the second most boring actor ever, so that was kind of to be expected. The action scenes were very good, but the first act into the battle in Smallville was nap time. I fell asleep. And I've seen it said that the tone was very different to the tone of the trailer, and I can see that. I only watch the first two trailers for any movie, the teaser and the official trailer. That's all I ever watch. I hate watching more than that because, in my opinion, they give too much of the movie away. So I skipped a lot of the trailers, but even then, it was a different tone. I attribute that to the James Gunn humor element I mentioned before more than anything, really. In closing, this was a good movie, a good action movie, and a really good superhero movie. I didn't like Corn Sweat as Superman personally, but Superman is a hard character to get right and make entertaining. I just felt like the Superman part of the Superman movie was the most lacking. The rest of the movie, though, was terrific, just like the best character in the movie. If I had to put a number to this, I would probably give it like a 7.5 out of 10. It was definitely better than average. It was very good. Just, it wasn't quite an 8 for me, and it wasn't nearly as bad as a 7, so I'll give it a 7.5, and that's my review for Superman. And now I'll be giving my review for the Ironheart TV series on Disney+. I really enjoyed Ironheart. I was really upset with all the hate it was getting. It was unwarranted. It was stupid. And it was, I mean, there's no other way to say it except to say that people just hate things to hate them when there's anything going on outside of white men. It feels like every movie that has a woman at the front of it is hated on. It feels like every movie that has a person of color is hated on. It feels like anything that's outside of the norm is just shit on immediately, and I can't stand that. So I was really upset I was really enjoying Ironheart until the final scene. And I guess it's comic accurate for her to make a deal with Mephisto, but I just didn't like it. I really liked Riri. I loved her family, Natalie, Xavier, her mom, and I liked Zelma a lot. I could watch an entire series about her. Anthony Ramos was good most of the time. I felt like they used a couple of bad takes in places, but he was a really good villain. I've never been a fan of Sacha Baron Cohen, but I actually did think he was pretty good as Mephisto. I think that it's silly that this was his debut and not something like Ghost Rider or even Doctor Strange, but it does make sense story-wise in regards to the Hood. But I still don't like that Riri made a deal with him. Maybe she made a deal with him? It was entirely too ambiguous, to be honest. I was ready to rate this a 7 out of 10 until the end. Then, with the ending, it literally dropped to a 5, so I'll average it out and give it a 6. I wanted it to be so much better. And it wasn't the worst thing that Marvel TV has ever put out, regardless of what people want to say. It was down there because of the ending and because of like I said, there was just a couple of times that they used what I'm guessing was just a really bad take with the acting, the directing. And I'm surprised by that considering that Ryan Coogler was an executive producer. But, there's no denying that it was lacking. It was definitely lacking, and the Mephisto thing at the end really killed it. It was not as bad as Secret Invasion. Nothing has been as bad as Secret Invasion. However, I'd probably have to put this and Moon Knight probably tied for just above. If I had to rate Secret Invasion, I'd probably honestly give it a 3 just because the quality just started fairly low and just went down and down and down, and then I don't know. And Moon Knight was okay, but the CGI giant Khonshu battle at the end was just terrible. But the acting from Oscar Isaac was incredible, so that honestly really saved that series. But this isn't about those shows. This was about Ironheart, and I wanted it to be better. I want to see Ironheart in more things. I would love it if she... And let's be honest, I don't know why we haven't gotten a Young Avengers yet with all the Young Avengers that they've introduced, but we haven't. And it's starting to get to the point to where by the time they do, Kate Bishop's going to be like 64. So let's put out a Young Avengers movie or show or something. Let's have Kamala Khan and Kate Bishop and, Wiccan and Ironheart and all these characters finally be in something together. We've introduced all these characters. I think that that's probably the one complaint about the MCU lately that I can get on board with is stop introducing all these characters and then going nowhere with them. Enough with that. You've got to do better. You can't just continue to rest on the first 3 phases, especially phase 3 of the MCU. You've got to stop teasing things that are way down the line or may never even happen and just get your shit together and put something out that we want to see, like the Champions or Young Avengers show, whatever it is you're going to do. Please. And that was my reviews for Superman and Ironheart. And up next, we'll be talking about football. So if you're not a football fan, now's the time to stop the video. For my first football content that I'm going to be putting on my channel, I'm going to be doing something fairly simple and yet controversial, and I'm going to be ranking the quarterbacks for 2025. We'll go in reverse order. We're not going to be including the Vikings or the Titans on this list because their quarterbacks have never played a down in the NFL, and it's pretty likely that J.J. McCarthy and Cam Ward are going to be starting for their teams this year, unless something crazy happens. So for that reason, we won't be including them. They could be anywhere on this list. I could rank them at 31 and 32, and then they could end up being better than 20 or more of these quarterbacks. They could end up being the worst. I don't know. So transferring to the NFL is a very difficult task, and not all quarterbacks can do it. So for that reason, I cannot, in good conscience, rank them. So we're going to start with number 30, and that is the Saints quarterback situation. I'm not sure that they would have been a whole lot higher than number 30, even with Derek Carr as their quarterback, but he was at least, an established starter, and he has won games in the NFL. He even had a nearly MVP type season a few years back. So for the reason of him retiring, it could be Tyler Shook as the starter, maybe a third, fourth round pick? No, he was second round, but was he really though? And I know I said I wasn't going to be including rookies. It's also possible that Spencer Rattler is the quarterback, which leaves me no confidence. So for that reason, I'm going to put the Saints in last place, and they could surprise me. I mean, he does have Alvin Kamara to throw to, so, he has an outlet. But until I know what's going to go on with them, I have to put them in last place. Just above them is the Browns' mess of a quarterback situation. They made this bed and they get to lie in it. That's their fault. As a fan of the entire NFL, because especially when I was younger, I liked the entire NFL. I have teams I don't really like, but when it came to AFC teams that I cheered for, 9 times out of 10, it was the Browns. I have a feeling a certain kind of way about them with the fact that they're one of the oldest franchises in the NFL that have never been to a Super Bowl. I always wanted them to go to the Super Bowl, and then they traded for Deshaun Watson and traded away Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield was the first quarterback to win a playoff game for them since they came back into the league. Maybe he wasn't my favorite guy because he was a Sooner, but and we'll talk more about him in a minute, but the way that the Browns cast him aside after being the only quarterback to ever win a playoff game for them since coming back, and the first one since, Bernie Kosar, maybe Vinny Testaverde, those are some old names right there, so casting him aside for, Deshaun S.A. Watson, trading for that, giving him a fully guaranteed contract, and then for him to just fail so miserably, it's honestly what they get. And so now he's not even available for this season because I guess he's hurt, which, okay, he wasn't that good when he wasn't, so who cares? Not with the Browns anyway. He was good with the Texans. Anyway, so what do they have? They have Flacco, who he did play very well for them when he played for them a couple of years ago. They have Kenny Pickett, who I actually think is probably going to end up being the starter. They have Shedeur Sanders, who they drafted in the 5th round. And they have Dylan Gabriel, who they drafted in the 3rd round, which was just weird. The Browns' QB room is weird, and I don't really know how else to rank them except down here in 29. Now, it could be that Shedeur ends up starting for them, or Dylan Gabriel ends up starting for them and ends up winning some games for them. I mean, they have an incredible defense, led by probably the best defensive player in the entire NFL. But what good does that do you when you don't even know who your quarterback is? I don't know why Myles Garrett stuck around. I mean, I guess there's 40 million reasons for him to stick around, but I guess, I don't know. He could have made that money somewhere else and actually chased a ring, but it is what it is. Number 28 is the Colts situation. Another one that's a little undecided. Anthony Richardson was supposed to be the answer, and he has not been that. And so they signed Daniel Jones, who might end up beating him out, might end up playing out of necessity, and he might just end up being a better quarterback. Daniel Jones has always had athleticism and talent. He just also is really good at giving the ball to the other team. So, I think the Colts are in a terrible situation, and especially with their quarterback. At number 27, we have the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins, Tua is a really good quarterback. I don't know if he's a great quarterback, but he's a really good quarterback. He's accurate. He lit it up a couple of years ago, and yet he's one injury away from, not even being able to lift a fork on his own. So that's dangerous. And the Dolphins have not had a good backup quarterback. But I mean, they've barely had a good quarterback for a lot of years, much less a backup. So that being the situation, I don't know, man. I don't know. Number 26 is the Seattle Seahawks. With the exception of last year in Minnesota, Sam Darnold has been a letdown. He was drafted probably way too high. I didn't like him coming out necessarily. Definitely didn't like him being drafted that high, but he wasn't great on the Jets. I don't think any quarterback is going to be good on the Jets. And he went to San Francisco and was a backup there, and I guess he learned something from Kyle Shanahan because, it seems like he did because he played really well for the Vikings last year. But it's Sam Darnold. So until he can show me that he can do it for Seattle too, I don't know. And, Seattle has a coach that I don't even know who he is, and they traded away their best receiver, and I don't think Tyler Lockett plays for them anymore either. So, what the hell is going on in Seattle? Even if Sam Darnold is good, does he have anyone to throw to? I don't know. I guess we'll find out. Number 25 is the Carolina Panthers. Bryce Young was probably drafted way too high as well. I don't really quite understand why he was drafted number 1 overall, but, when those are your options, the people that evaluate this situation liked him and they signed him, or drafted him, I should say, and he did a kind of okay his rookie year, and then he got totally benched and came back and played better. So there's some promise there. Maybe he'll build on that. Maybe he won't. The Panthers really got to figure out their quarterback situation. The best ones they've had, Kerry Collins was only okay. Jake Delhomme did take him to a Super Bowl, but that was a situation where he was pretty good. I don't know if he was the best option they had, but he did play very well for them for a couple of years. Cam Newton was always way overrated in my opinion, but he was still probably, he was the best quarterback that franchises ever had. He just was kind of a crybaby. And now they're with Bryce Young. And yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. We'll have to see how he does this year to really get a good feel for him, but I feel like this is his make or break year. So if he falls on his face, the Panthers are right back in the quarterback market. Speaking of being in the quarterback market, at number 24, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers, which is just sad because the Steelers are one of the best run franchises in NFL history, and they have been for a lot of years. Hell, they've had, 3 head coaches in the last 50 years, 60 years? So, the organization has run well, and then they go and sign Aaron Rodgers to be their guy. Now, Rodgers was an absolute disappointment for the Jets, but like I said, I don't really think anybody can win in New York with the Jets. So who knows what Rodgers we're going to get? Are we going to get MVP Rodgers, or are we going to get declining, aging, coming off Achilles injury and bad play for the Jets Rodgers? Probably more likely we'll get the latter than the former, but who knows? He is playing for the Steelers. He does get to throw to DK Metcalf. He does get to play some play action football, which he's not the best at. Who knows what we're going to get this year with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I have a feeling that if they weren't in the same division as the Browns, they would probably be last in the division this year. But I could be wrong. They could win the division this year, however unlikely that is. At number 23, let's start the controversy. We have the Chicago Bears with Caleb Williams. I've never been a believer in Caleb Williams. I thought that he sucked at Oklahoma. I thought that he played better at USC, but He has a lot of the same things as Cam Newton, where if things aren't going well for him, he just falls apart. And everybody's talking about how I just don't understand why everyone is all over Caleb Williams like he's the second coming of Andrew Luck or something. He has really bad body language. He has really bad, he's just weird and he's not great. And I could be wrong about this, I guess. I'm not usually that wrong about this, though. I don't think Caleb Williams is the answer. I don't think he's a very good quarterback, and I think Chicago is just going to be in another bad quarterback situation. People say that's where quarterbacks go to die. Well, I mean, when you're drafting Caleb Williams like he's the best thing ever, I don't know, man. I just don't believe in Caleb Williams, and until he proves me wrong, this is as high as I can possibly put them. At number 22, I have the Patriots with Drake May. I think that Drake May played well last year, but they only won 4 games. I think that he might be the answer. He looks pretty good, but, you know, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. They have a new coach this year. They have new offense. They have Stephon Diggs to throw to. They're building something, and I think that Vrabel is a good coach, especially coming back to New England. I think he's going to do okay. I don't know what we're going to get from Drake May, but I think they might have the quarterback answer. Right now, he's only at 22. He could very much so climb very high in this list. Then again, he could stay here or even fall. He's young, so you never know. And it could be a down year for him. A lot of quarterbacks have a sophomore slump. There's a reason that phrase exists, and he could end up with that. But until we really see how he does with this new coaching staff and with some new weapons, it's just a wait and see game. At number 21, we have the New York Jets. The New York Jets signed Justin Fields in the offseason. I think that he's probably the best quarterback they've had in a lot of years, and he's not even that great of a quarterback, so that doesn't say much. Justin Fields has a ton of talent, athletic talent. I just don't know how much quarterback talent he has. But who knows? I mean, he could really go either direction. This is number 21 for a reason. It's another one that could climb, or this is kind of Justin Fields' last chance too. So he either really has to play well and show that he's the guy, or he might be out of the league after this year. At number 20, we have the other New York team, the Giants. I'm actually a lot higher on Russell Wilson than some people are. I think he does still have some ability. I don't know that he has enough ability to compete in a very tough NFC East and a very tough NFC field, and with a very, very, very tough schedule this year. I mean, the NFC East is playing the AFC West and the NFC North. That's like 100 playoff teams they have to play. The Giants have a tough schedule, and I don't know if Russell Wilson's going to make it all the way through the year, especially with Jackson Dart sitting on the bench. I think he should. I think he should play pretty well, especially when he has Malik Neighbors to throw to. Darius Slayton is okay. Their running back is pretty good, and their defense is really good. So all Wilson really has to do is just not give the game away, and they should be okay. But I don't know. This is a tough one. The Giants are a tough one because I do think Russell Wilson is an upgrade over Daniel Jones. How much of one, we'll see. At number 19, I have the Denver Broncos, and I know that Bo Nix had a great year last year, or at least a pretty good year last year. He continued to improve as the year went on, but he is still young, and it's hard to anoint a quarterback after one good year. He has the chance to really take this job and take the Broncos to new heights. Whether he does that or not, we'll see. At number 18 is the Arizona Cardinals. Kyler Murray is a very hard quarterback to figure out. I think one of the funniest things I ever saw was when somebody posted one of his highlight videos and said that he looks like a kid that took away the remote and was running away from mom trying to Kyler Murray is a hard quarterback to figure out. It's like he does have 3 or 4 really good plays in him for every game. And the Cardinals looked really good a few years ago when they were like, first in the NFL through 12 weeks, I think. Had only lost 1 game, and then all of a sudden they fell apart and they just haven't been the same since. And Kyler hasn't been the same since. I don't know what we're going to get from the Cardinals, and I don't know what we're going to get from Kyler Murray. This is another one of those that's kind of a make or break situation, where if the Cardinals fail, or especially if Kyler fails, they might be in the quarterback market. At number 17, I have the San Francisco 49ers. Brock Purdy just got paid. I think we're about to really find out just exactly who Brock Purdy is. He's either going to prove me way wrong, or he's going to prove me right, where he's kind of middle of the pack quarterback that was, the team was able to be successful because they had such a low number on their books for their quarterback. I don't know. This is a tough one. They've now paid him. They paid Ayuk last year. George Kittle's not getting any younger, and Christian McCaffrey, it's 50-50 on whether or not he'll get to play the whole year. I think the 49ers are going to be improved this year, and I do think that Brock Purdy is a good quarterback. I know that they're ranked 17. That's not to say that they're bad. I mean, they have to fall somewhere. But I don't know if Brock Purdy is the guy or not. I haven't believed in him yet, and yet every year except for last year, he's gone to the playoffs, if not even the Super Bowl. So he's a Super Bowl quarterback. He could definitely continue to do that. But I feel like it's the 49ers and Kyle Shanahan more than Brock Purdy. So I think we're about to find out with him getting paid. At number 16, I have the Atlanta Falcons. I'm personally a big believer in Michael Penix. I know that I keep talking about the second year. You never know what you're going to get. And yet I put the Falcons this high. I think that Penix is going to be a very good quarterback for the Falcons. And even if he's not, as of right now, they still have Kirk Cousins on the roster. So, they have a fallback situation. But I think that Penix is probably the answer. And I think 16 right in the middle is perfect for them. I think that they could easily rise, and the Falcons could be a team that wins their division and is someone to contend with. They could also take a step back. And considering where they ended last year, taking a step back is not a good idea. So that's where I have the Falcons. At number 15, I have the Las Vegas Raiders, which I still can't get used to saying, with Geno Smith. Them trading for, and I believe signing him to an extension, Geno Smith, was a very interesting move. I understand that Pete Carroll is their coach now, so it makes sense to bring in a quarterback you're familiar with and used to. Geno was somebody that was basically forgotten about and written off. And then, he came back and played very well for the Seahawks. He had his own soundbite for the writing off part of that conversation. Now he goes to Las Vegas, where this is going to prove whether Seattle was a fluke or whether it just took him a while to develop. And if he does develop, this is actually a good point about how quickly quarterbacks are expected to be the guy. That's not to say that the Jets should have waited for 8 years for him to figure it out. It's just to say that sometimes people are in way too much of a hurry for a quarterback to develop and be the guy, when sometimes it takes a guy like Geno Smith a little while to figure it out. So this is going to be one of those years where this is a situation for him to prove that he's the guy, and the pressure is on for that, because I don't know that the Raiders have a ton of talent around him for him to be able to prove it. And if he doesn't, if he falls on his face, or if he, reverts back to Geno before Seattle, then that's a mess. It is a mess. At number 14, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence is another guy that when he was coming out, everybody was talking about he was the second coming of Peyton Manning, I guess. I never saw it. I mean, he was a great college quarterback and he didn't lose, but college is different than the league. And to me, he was too slight. It wasn't necessarily that I thought that he was going to fail. I just didn't know that he was going to be who they thought he was. His situation has not been helped by bad coaching. But you can only complain about that for so long. This is another one of those make or break years. He signed a huge extension and hasn't really played up to it. So this is going to be interesting. The Jaguars went from coming back and beating the Chargers and starting 8-3 the next year, and they've basically not won hardly anything since. That was 22-23. They've really got to figure this out, and Trevor Lawrence has got to play better. He's got to play better, or he might end up in a new city. At number 13, here comes controversy number 2. I have Jaden Daniels. I think that, and I'll get into my review or my predictions for the Washington team later. I think that Jaden Daniels surprised me, and he played very, very well. He might very well be the answer. He might also be very, very RG3 and just have one good year and then disappear. But I don't see that happening. I think that they're okay with Daniels. I think that he might be their answer, which has been a very long time since they've had an answer, and that's exciting for Washington fans, and it's exciting for fans of the Washington-Dallas rivalry like me. A couple of years ago, somebody asked me who I thought Dallas's number one rival was, and I said it was Washington, and they were like, "Oh, Philadelphia, it's got to be Philadelphia. They're the ones that, they're the ones that go back and forth. It's Philadelphia and Dallas." And yes, for the past several years, pretty much since the moment Dan Snyder took over, it's been Dallas and Philadelphia, and sometimes New York, way more often than Washington with their 2012 year. But this is a new regime. This is a new head coach. This is a new owner. This is an all new team. They even have a new name, as stupid as it is. And they have a chance to really do something here. I think that Jaden Daniels at 13 it's a little low, maybe, but I mean, 13 in his second year is actually pretty high. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes, but I do think that Jaden Daniels is in a good place to really raise his stock coming this year and in the future. At number 12, I have Jared Goff, and you can hate me all you want for that. I think that that's a really good place for Jared Goff to be. Top 12 quarterback is not bad, especially with the team that he has around him. Jared Goff is kind of a boring quarterback, but there's nothing really wrong with the boring quarterback. I know he went for a long while without a turnover, and then he kind of started turning it over like crazy. He's got to get that under control, but yeah, Detroit's a really good team, and while I think that they probably would have already been to and won the Super Bowl with Matthew Stafford, I understand taking the trade and getting the draft picks and building around Jared Goff. I'm not saying he's bad. I mean, he was the number one pick for a reason. I don't know. He could prove me wrong this year. I have a really hard time ranking him any higher than this. And here comes controversy number 3, and probably the biggest controversy at number 11. I have Jalen Hurts. I know. Jalen Hurts, number 11, the Super Bowl MVP at number 11. Here's the thing about Jalen Hurts, and I'll talk about it a little bit more in my NFC East preview, but this is really the place to talk about it. As far as the quarterback goes, I think that he has always been lacking just a little bit. He's not very good if his first or even second read is not there. He's not very good if the team gets too pass heavy. He's not very good if they don't figure out the balance and don't just call the plays just right for him. Having said that, I'm not taking away from his Super Bowl performance at all. When it comes to the performance that he had in the Super Bowl last year, that was what Eagles fans have been calling him this whole time. He was incredible in that game. And if he continues to play like that, if he actually has figured it out and continues to play like that, that's a dangerous, dangerous quarterback on a dangerous, dangerous team. But I don't think that's the case. I think that was just he had a great game at the right time. I think that Jalen Hurts is just outside of the top 10, but still a pretty good quarterback. I'm sorry, I can't rank him any higher than that. I can't believe in him yet. Just can't. I mean, Howie Roseman built a super team around him. The fact that the past few seasons have gone the way that they have outside of last year, I don't know. I think it's a indictment on the quarterback more than anything, but what do I know? I've just been watching football for 30 years. At number 10, we have Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert is somebody that 2 or 3 years ago, people were putting in the top 3 quarterbacks, top 5 quarterbacks, and I was saying, y'all need to pump your brakes on this. I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback, but I don't know about that. And he fell back to earth a little bit like I expected him to, but I do think that he throws a beautiful pass. I think that he's got a cannon for an arm. I think that he's very, very talented. And if he can figure out how to run Harbaugh's system, be more run heavy and hit the big play when it's time to hit the big play, I think that the Chargers might finally figure it out. But that's a big maybe. I think that Justin Herbert is a hell of a quarterback, and, we'll see how it goes from here. Number 9, kind of surprised me that I put him this high, but how can you not? It's Baker Mayfield for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He quietly had a MVP-style season last year. Now, that's not to say that he was any better than the guy that won MVP, but he did have a MVP type of season last year. He's putting it all together. He's figuring it out. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have won the division, 4 or 5 years in a row now, after the NFC South never had a repeat division winner before this run started. And it started with Tom Brady, sure, but the last couple of years it's been Baker Mayfield that's doing it. And he even beat the Eagles last year in the playoffs, which nobody expected to happen. As I said when I was talking about the Browns, I think that he was done wrong by that team. They should have stuck with him. Not the biggest Baker Mayfield fan. Like I said, he was a Sooner. But I do understand why he was so upset with the Longhorns, considering he's from Austin and they didn't even give him a chance. So he went to Oklahoma and did what he did. And he's got a little bit of dog in him. He's got a little bit of fight in him that a team like Tampa Bay needs. A team in the NFL needs a quarterback that's got a little bit of fight, a little bit of spunk, a little bit of that extra that you can't really quantify, but can really put a team over the top. Do I think he's a Super Bowl quarterback? I don't know. I don't know about that. But I do think he's at least in the top 10 because I have him at number 9. At number 8, I have the Houston Texans and C.J. Stroud. I know that he had a little bit of a down year last year. How about that? A sophomore slump like I've been talking about with all these other quarterbacks. But I think that when it came time to put it together, he got the job done. He doesn't have the greatest protection in the world, and I really don't know what the Texans did to fix the offensive line, but they made moves. So we'll see how that goes. I think that C.J. Stroud, when he came into the league, I wasn't sure that he was going to be as good as he has been, but I mean, he's been everything the Texans have needed since drafting him. So I have him at number 8. At number 7, I have the Green Bay Packers and Jordan Love. I think that Jordan Love needs to work on some things and figure some things out. But all things considered, I think that he is a hell of a quarterback. He's a hell of a successor to Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre. And the Green Bay Packers have been very rich in quarterback for 30 years now, and they've got another good one. Like I said, he does need to figure some things out and fix some things and stop turning the ball over and stop just chunking it up for grabs. But at the same time, when the offense is on and when LaFleur is on, they've got a quarterback who is performing and doing the offense the way that they want it done. So He's at number 7. Number 6, controversy number 4. And, the Homer bit of me notwithstanding, I think that number 6 is the Dallas Cowboys and Dak Prescott. I think that he is, if I'm not mistaken, he is the longest standing quarterback starting for the same team in the NFL this year. He's been with the Cowboys since 2016. This is another make or break type situation, but in a completely different way. I think that this is going to be tough for Dallas, and I'll talk about it more during the NFC East preview, but they don't have as much talent as they did 2 years ago. But even then, 2 years ago, with lesser receivers, he was in the MVP consideration. He was second or third in voting, I think. I think that he's a really good quarterback that needs a really good coach and a really good system to put him over the top. When they went to the playoffs 2 years ago and got absolutely embarrassed by the Packers, really he didn't play very well in the first couple of series, and he got desperate and started throwing interceptions, and he threw that pick 6, and that was just an ugly game. But if you really look at it, Mike McCarthy wasn't willing to do anything crazy. The defense just laid an absolute egg. I mean, they got run all over on, and by the time Dak started getting going, they were down by 20, 30 points. I mean, I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying now they've got even less talent than that, and if he can't get them further, if he plays all year, and let's say they get in with a wild card and he can't take them to the second or third round of the playoffs, then what are we doing? What are we doing? I'm not one of those people that says Dak sucks, trade him, which is one of the stupidest things in football. If he sucks, you're not going to trade him. But if you aren't going anywhere and this team needs to rebuild as bad as I think it possibly does, you might look at moving some of your best assets and starting over and seeing what kind of draft pick you can end up with next year. And like I said, hitting that reset button. But until then, I don't know. I think that Dak is probably the 6th best quarterback at best. And this is definitely at best. And I know a lot of people would have Hurts, maybe even Goff over him. I know that somewhere out there they have him at 17th or something. That's just insane. But that's where I have him. And yeah. And we're now in the top 5. And I think that number 5 is, it's really easy to put him at number 5. I don't think anybody outside of the ones that I have ahead of him, anybody that I've mentioned is better than Matthew Stafford for the LA Rams. I think he's been a great quarterback for a long time. He just happened to play on a very terrible Detroit team. And I think this might be his last year. So, I want to give him the credit that I think he's the best quarterback in the NFC, in the entire NFC. I think that the Rams win because of him and not in spite of him. I think last year and I think the Super Bowl run were absolutely because of him. And I don't think they're going anywhere without him. At number 4, so number 4, number 3, number 2, and number 1, to me, these 4 quarterbacks are kind of, sort of, more or less the same in a lot of ways as far as how much I believe in them. I could rank any of them 1 through 4 and be pretty comfortable doing it. Really what it boils down to in my rankings is I went with accolades to separate them. So that's why at number 4, I have the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen. And the only reason that he's 4 is because he has won less Super Bowls, MVPs, things of that nature. Like I said, accolades. He has less accolades than the 3 guys ahead of him, or at least less success in the playoffs than the 3 guys ahead of him, or 2 of the 3 guys ahead of him anyway. I think that Josh Allen has developed very nicely. I think he's a great quarterback, and I would absolutely love to have him on my team. I think that he needs a little more help in the receiver area. I think that the Bills have done him dirty by not getting over the hump yet, but what can you do? I mean, they even traded for Amari Cooper and they still couldn't do it, so I don't know. But I don't think that that's Josh Allen. I think he's at least minimum the fourth best quarterback in the NFL. And at number 3, the guy that's won more MVPs than him, the guy that has won a little bit less in the playoffs than him, but did make it to the championship game last year, and that's Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. I think that Lamar might be the best quarterback in the league as far as all things considered, but he just hasn't gotten over the hump. He has not gotten to the big game, and he has not been able to beat, for the most part, Allen, Burrow, or Mahomes. But I've got him at number 3 because he does have more MVPs than Josh Allen. I've got him at number 3 because I think that he just has so much talent, and he's improving so much. His first few years, he was basically a running back, a lot like Jalen Hurts, and his throwing of the football, his quarterback play it left a little bit to be desired on that part. He figured out how to throw the ball. He figured out how to play the quarterback position, and he's been so much better for it. The Ravens have got to get over the hump at this point, especially considering that he is a running quarterback. They only have so much of a window with that type of quarterback play before things start to fall off. So they've got to figure it out going forward. At number 2, I do have Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. I think that Joe Burrow might be the best pure throwing quarterback in the NFL. I think that he is one of the times that the number 1 quarterback came out, and I was not opposed to it. I was not in any way debating it. He was the best quarterback coming out, and he was incredible. And he's been nothing but incredible since getting into the league. He took the Bengals to a Super Bowl, which is more than the Ravens or Bills can say. It's more than the Cowboys or Packers can say. He's really, really, really good. And he's got 2 really good receivers, so that helps. But he's had several good receivers, really. But, obviously the 2 big ones stand out, Higgins and Jamar Chase. But even without them, even the year that before Jamar Chase got there, I thought that he was really good, and he's done nothing but get better. He is the only reason that they're able to dig out of early season holes, but they have to figure out how to win in September. The 1 month that Dallas can win, they can't. They cannot win in September, and they've got to figure it out. They've got to start winning in September and October and get a comfortable lead on the division so that they don't have to play so hard to get into the playoffs that they're exhausted by the time the playoffs start. And of course, number 1, Patrick Mahomes. Like I need to say anything else. It's fucking Patrick Mahomes. Until somebody knocks him out of that spot, there's no way that I cannot rank him number 1. I mean, he's been to the Super Bowl almost every year he's been in the league, except for the year he didn't play. He's been in the playoffs every year that he's played. He's incredible. So until somebody does something different and knocks him out, he's number 1. So that's my list. I hope that you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments below where I was wrong, where you disagree. And, I know that you disagree with me, but don't attack me. I'm just a guy with an opinion. Football is fun to debate and to disagree on, but that doesn't mean that people need to be ugly about it. So tell me that you disagree with me without being ugly, and I'm glad to have a conversation with you. As always, I'm your host, Surprise. Until next time, have a good one.